the top tier. You will not find two better Magic players playing against each other in a tournament.
Well, these two Magic players, and Gabriel Nassif and Luis Scott-Vargas, well, they were in the finals of the Pro Tour that I made top 8 of, so I hate them both, and I quit. And that's just where I stand on that. No, of course they're great, and we're going to be watching them play for a very, very, very long time, and you know what? I hope this match goes super long, and we have a lot of fun with this too. They are exquisite Magic players. They've already played once before in this tournament, and if memory does serve Marshall, Luis got the better of Nassif there. So Nassif, perhaps a little revenge on mine.
That's right. And I mean, I think that Luis always has revenge on the mind going in the other direction based on the 2009 results there. But yeah, for this one, for sure, it is going to be Nassif saying, all right, well, we both made it here at the end of the day, but I'm going to try to knock you out. And on top of it, we've got a very interesting scenario here as well. It's a mirror match, Cedric. These two players are playing the same exact list of cards. In fact, they tested with each other for the tournament, and they were the two of the players who decided to play this deck out of the team, where most of the rest of the team went for Goblins.
And, you know, it makes a lot of sense to go for Goblins because Goblins is an extremely, extremely powerful deck. But I will say this, given how much Goblins there was in this tournament, you combine Mono Red and Rakdos, about 30%, 34% of the tournament, only one in the top 8, maybe, well, it's hard to argue that Nassif and LSV made the right decision to say, no Goblins for me, how about a little Jund Sacrifice instead, both these players in the top 8, though I'm sure they wouldn't like to be scoring off against each other just yet, but here we are, here we are anyway. And one of the big things here, Marshall, is you're going to see a Cauldron Familiar activation from Luis. Is this big innovation for both players with Dreadhorde Butcher. This card has been very, very good for both of them. And, well, Mayhem Devil really doesn't need much of an introduction at this point. We saw it last match. We've been seeing it all weekend long. Again, I know coming into this tournament, a lot of people felt that maybe Muxus was the objectively most powerful card. One could argue Phyrexian Tower. For me, it has been Mayhem Devil, which has been the most impressive card here this weekend.
Yeah, it's been incredibly dominant every time it's been able to stick on the battlefield. It's so good that a lot of times when the players play it for just half of a turn, meaning play it, pass it to you, that they can do, like, knock out a lot of the opposing board with it. And if they untap, it feels like the game ends. That's on a 3-mana creature here. It is extremely impressive. The cards to look out for, of course, in a matchup like this as well, are Mayhem Devil, and then Collected Company is sort of the biggest hit. And right now, looking at the hands, it's all Nassif. He's the one with Mayhem Devil. In fact, on the battlefield and a Collected Company in hand, when you look at Luis's hand, nothing going. All 4 Woe Striders sitting there.
Quads, generally a winning hand.
Right.
Not today. Not right now. Woe Strider is a very good card in this matchup. Don't get it twisted. But right now, it is not what Luis needs. First and foremost, I think he needs himself a red source to take this. He needs a red source to take this Mayhem Devil with claim, get it off the battlefield with Witches of, and then move forward. A second claim the Firstborn. Yeah, I would. I'm not afraid to say GG at this point. I'm really not, especially with a company in the holster.
Yeah, Luis just has to kind of wait this one out. This isn't the top 8. He doesn't want to concede prematurely, but I mean, realistically speaking, this game is over and very over. Nassif really with a beautiful curve out on his side, and he's even going to apply more pressure to Scott-Vargas here with his second copy of Dreadhorde Butcher, trying to put this thing away, and that signals the end of the game as Luis says, look, there really isn't any way for me to come back from this, and we are going to go to sideboard. So a quick, and I have to say, an easy game one there for Nassif. Mana issues for Scott-Vargas means that he's going to have to buckle down on these sideboard games, hope to find the mana that he needs, and pick up back-to-back wins if he's going to stay advancing through the top 8 here.
Yeah, a very fast first game there for Nassif, which are things that normally aren't said in the same sentence, fast and Nassif. But that's what happened. So he does win game 1 very quickly. I do expect game 2 and potentially game 3 to be a little bit more lengthy and drawn out because there is a lot of posturing here for both players beginning, heck, even on the second turn of the game in this matchup. So games in this matchup generally tend to go a little bit longer, but for Nassif, you got to be happy about, hey, first one in the books. Let's see if we can get the second one and move on deeper into this tournament.
Yeah, I'll remind you that we are playing double elimination here in the top 8. So if Luis or Nassif are one of your favorite players, they're going to still be alive. And we're going to be back with more tomorrow as well. We're going to be doing the elimination matches tomorrow as we work our way through the non-elimination matches throughout the course of today. And we still got more Magic to bring you, by the way, after this match, so don't go anywhere. But for now, look, you get knocked down to that lower bracket, it is a long way to go to make it all the way back to the finals of this tournament. And if you win this match, it puts you on the short track. You don't have to do a whole lot more work to find yourself sitting in that final seat and waiting for your opponent. It also sets up the potential, I think, for kind of an interesting storyline, just like with these two kind of nemesis of each other. They're friends, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, they're
but,
teammates.
They play, yeah, teammates too, but they play against each other a lot. And, again, finals of a Pro Tour, you never forget that one. Interesting to note that one player could lose this and somehow scrap their way back, and they could somehow meet in the finals again. Kind of funny.
I would love for that to be the case. I genuinely enjoy watching both of these people play Magic quite a bit, and they're two guys that I've known for over 10 years at this point. So big fans of both. And you look, if we want to, how do you feel about if they play in the finals best of 80? What's a number that works?
You good? Watch it. I'm in. Well, I'll tell you what. If you're there with me, I'm in.
Well, I mean, DoorDash is working, so I don't have to go anywhere. So just best of 80 DoorDash. We'll kick it off with a little Starbucks in the lunch, in the dinner. Boom, 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 bang, boom. Well. There you go.
These are all things I love. I'm in for all of them. All right. So how are things curving out for our players here in this particular game? So far, not a whole lot of action. Just a Witch's Oven on the battlefield. There's Woe Strider as the first major play here from Scott-Vargas, as he has hit his third land drop and even has all of his colors. So got that little problem solved.
Yeah, this hand is substantially better for Luis than the last hand was. It's night and day. You see the Woe Strider, Phyrexian Tower is among the lands, Claim the Firstborns, plural, and the incredibly, incredibly powerful Mayhem Devil. So there's a lot to like here if you're Luis. And don't forget about that companion either, Old Gigantha, just hanging out.
That's right. So Nassif is going to be looking at this board and thinking, all right, what if Luis has Claim the Firstborn? And as it turns out, he's actually got 2 copies of that card in his hand. How bad is it for me? Is it a disaster? Remember, he does have Witch's Oven on the battlefield, so that Claim the Firstborn becomes what it almost always is in this matchup, which is red, get rid of your creature, rather than I actually get to steal it and do all that stuff.
Yep.
But still, boy, red sorcery, destroy a creature is pretty powerful Magic card, especially in other matchups where it's stealing Uro and stuff and don't have a way to sacrifice it.
Yeah, it's just an incredible, incredible card. I mean, look, if I told you that Wizards of the Coast is printing a card that was red, destroy target creature with upside and very little downside, we'd all be playing it. And that's what Claim the Firstborn has been in this entire tournament for these Jund Sacrifice players. It's rarely bad in any matchup in Historic.
This is incredible, by the way. A Mayhem Devil now for Luis Scott-Vargas. He can cast it and play the Claim. Right now, we have Gabriel Nassif thinking to himself, do I need to sacrifice this goat? Like, is my hand okay? Can I scry to make this thing work? Instead, he says, you know what? I'd rather just have the 1 damage go to the goat rather than my face, and I'm not going to do so. And he's going to, of course, have to sacrifice the Woe Strider to the Witch's Oven. The question was, do you want to scry or do you want to take a damage? You take more damage instead. And he said, well, you know what? I'm going to protect my life total a little bit here. And now he's got Vraska Golgari Queen going on the stack, fresh out of the sideboard. And this thing kills most of the things that you care about on the other side, particularly, that's right, Mayhem Devil.
Yeah, step in the right direction there for sure if you're Nassif. Now, your Vraska's going to die from the Mayhem Devil trigger, of course, because you're going to sacrifice it to Woe Strider, trigger on, finish off that Vraska. But look, you solved the Mayhem Devil problem for now. Ideally, your deck can handle a Woe Strider and its GOAT token. So Nassif's hand, it's not my favorite hand in the world. These Midnight Reapers are just okay. If he is able to find a Cauldron Familiar, his hand goes from good to excellent. So we'll see if he can find a kitty cat, perhaps.
That's right. He's got Woe Strider, Midnight Reaper, and an Overgrown Tomb in hand with a Woe Strider in the graveyard. But Luis has really been able to move things forward. We're even going to see Gigantha, the Wellspring, activated the companion ability, and that's going to go into hand. And the big 5/5 could come down next turn.
Make this game about something else.
I'm not going to say it's plan A.
I'm not sure what letter the plan is there with Gigantha, but it is free. So in some respects, so you might as well play it. And both players obviously are playing it because they're playing the same list. So they both agreed that Gigantha, good enough.
Yeah, not just good enough. Here comes Woe Strider now from Gabriel Nassif. This will provide a little bit of blocking as well as a little bit of scry, maybe some food down the line. But honestly, Going back to what you said on Nassif's last turn, that's not that impressive here, right? The Midnight Reaper and the Woe Strider did not improve. It ended up being a land drawn off the top. Now, this is pretty good. Casting both of them in the same turn, not too bad.
Yeah, that's the power of Phyrexian Tower, folks. Able to play 2 spells in 1 turn, sacrifice that Go token for a little bit of a mana bump. Now you got Reaper and Woe Strider on the battlefield, which means that you're going to be drawing at least 1 card. We'll see how many more, because Witch's Oven can really control that, as can Woe Strider. But this is a pretty nice setup. Again, Nassif is still looking for some more pieces to the puzzle, and I'm thinking of you, Mayhem Devil, but for now, not so bad. Well, there's a piece to the puzzle for LSV.
Corvold, Fakehurst King off the top. This draw has been very nice for Luis, and it continues to get better. We were thinking, hey, look at that. You can spend your 5 mana on Gigantha. Ha, ha, ha. Well, we just found something a little better to dump your 5 mana into here.
How could you?
Library. I'm sorry, Gigantha. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Gigantha. I'm a big elk fan, but yeah, no, I think Corvold's a little better. Dragons tend to eat elks, you know, for historically speaking. So here comes Corvold, Fakehurst King, hits the battlefield. It's going to sacrifice a land, draw a card here for Luis, and wow, a Collected Company too. This draw just will not quit here for Luis Scott-Vargas, and Gabriel Nassif's draw has gone a little flat. Just isn't a super powerful draw for him this game. He's got the 2 creatures on the battlefield. He's got the Sheltered Thicket in hand, but nothing else going.
Well, I'll say this. Nassif's draw step right now is his most important one of the tournament in order for him to turn this game around, because we know that Corvold takes a turn, 1, to end the game. And with Nassif at 7 life, it is going to take exactly what I just said, a turn to win the game. So, Priest of Forgotten Gods, you are not my favorite. Not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it does not solve this Corvold problem. So we got to go a little bit deeper in this deck somehow.
All right, here comes Priest.
Now remember, you're going to get to draw a card, and then you're going to get to scry. Claims? I don't think that's going to do it.
That ain't it. He already has one in his hand off of the draw there from the Reaper.
And that one costs 5. This is one of those times where claim isn't red, kill your creature.
He did, though, decide to keep it on top. So what is the game plan here? I'm just going to watch. I'm just going to watch this turn and see how it unfolds here for Nassif. He clearly has a game plan with this Claim the Firstborn. Curious what the thinking is here.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is where I just sit back and watch, because I'm watching players that are much better than I am.
Yeah, I guess this is a bluff of like active treason in some sort of way, because they do play they do have access to that card.
Right, but what can Luis even do, right? Like, he's tapped out. You can't sack the Strider to itself.
And I don't think he's going to ever sack the Corvold. So it's just kind of like, hey, if you have active treason in my Corvold, so it goes.
Oh, so then the thinking would be, I put a card on top of my library, and if I'm in Luis's seat, I have to think that must be the worst case scenario for me and not a blank.
Sure.
Is that?
That might be it.
Because that's pretty interesting, right? Like, if it didn't matter what the card, like, he doesn't actually want to claim the Firstborn necessarily. It's just a matter of, I need to put a card on top so that Luis will act differently. As it stands, though, he can sacrifice one of the foods there to go to 8, but I don't think that Corvold's going to have a hard time getting up to full power, especially with a Collected Company. Let's see what Luis hits, though.
Corvold rarely has difficulty dealing 8, and it's not going to be even close now.
Right, and because the one from the Cauldron Familiar means that Corvold only needs to hit for 7, and he's going to be able to hit for more than that because of the Mayhem Devil. So that is Luis Scott-Vargas picking up the victory here in game number 2 and forcing was it inevitable, said? Like, we were getting a game 3 here no matter what, right?
Of course it was inevitable. These two are going to go, look, I said best of 80. Okay?
You did.
I said best of 80. This is our version of that, best of 3. You know, and Nassif won the first game quickly. So of course we're going to play a third one, and now we're going to get to see what we came here for. Marshall, for everyone who's a fan of Gabriel Nassif, watches his stream, has been watching a career unfold for almost 20 years. Now we're going to see Nassif get to go into the tank.
That's right. Luis just went in the chat and said, "Good bluff," but Nassif's opponent read him like a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting, though, right? I wonder how things would play out if Nassif or if Luis had actually. I mean, I get is the reaction to that you say, because his only game action possible is to sacrifice Corvold to the Strider, right? That's the at that point, that's the only thing he can actually do. So it's either do that or not.
Yeah.
If Nassif had gotten Luis to sacrifice Corvold there, it'd be kind of insane, right?
That would have been something. That would have been something else.
What a cool little sequence down the stretch there. We're gonna have to get both of these players. Well, I guess we already have Luis's take on it, but I'd be curious to hear what Nassif had to say.
He gave it his best shot. Now he's on the play for game 3. Again, analyzing opening hands. Going to be pretty big here. All right, well, it's hard not to like this, I think, if you're going to see. If you got your colors, you got Mayhem Devil, Reclamation Sage can take care of a Witch's Oven, Scavenging Ooze can manage the graveyard. You got a pretty high ceiling as far as your draw steps are concerned. I think it's a pretty easy keep.
Boy, the quality of draws has been such a huge factor here. The players do have to spend considerable energy and mental energy, figuring out how to actually make these draws best work, because this matchup is very difficult to play on the battlefield. But man, getting drawing a bunch of collected companies and Mayhem Devils has really been the difference. And if I'm looking at the hands here, 2 Mayhem Devils in hand now for and he's on the play versus just 1 in hand for Scott-Vargas is going to really put some pressure on Luis to try to find ways to deal with the opposing Devils.
Yeah, this is a really, really nice hand for Nassif. He's just missing, just some sort of sacrifice engine, honestly. And if he's able to find one, this game becomes pretty darn easy, but he's got to be able to find one. So in the meantime, a Midnight Reaper, and now there's kind of half of the puzzle there in Cauldron Familiar. Now, if we runner that into Witch's Oven, it's almost assuredly game over.
Yeah, it's similar story on the side for Luis as well. He's got 2 Steal Your Creature effects plus Cauldron Familiar and even a Devil of his own, but currently no sack outlet.
Yep, and that's the problem here for both players.
Interesting. So this could be a race to see which person can get that first, although I will say that Gabriel Nassif, being on the play here and having a really nice curve, I mean, it looks like he can go Scavenging Ooze into Devil plus Cat. Like, that is putting a lot of pressure on the board, and he may be able to just overwhelm Luis here.
Yeah, it's an awesome start. Luis picking up a copy of Woodland Cemetery, so that's not the sacrifice outlet. So right now, the thing about this Jund sacrifice deck, and note the word I said there, sacrifice. The threatens and everything else, they're important. Runner. Who called it? I'm from the future.
Wow.
I am from the future.
You knew, Cedric, it was Witch's Oven right after that Cauldron Familiar, and this is exactly what Luis does not want to see hit the battlefield. Very bad news for him, as the Witch's Oven is going to unlock the true power of the board here for Gabriel Nassif. Now, there's one saving grace that Luis gives him the nice, because he's like, that wasn't there before, and it is going to have a huge impact on this game. Double Devil's almost unbeatable.
Yes. Yeah. Now it's party time.
Mm-hmm.
It is party time. Now we get to, obviously sacrifice cats, ooze the things I put in your graveyard, all that other stuff.
Boy. Future Cedric really kind of brought the heat down on Luis this time, didn't he?
Yeah. Do I feel bad? No, it just is what it is. It just is what it is.
Okay, so right in the middle.
Yeah, just straight down the middle.
You don't feel good.
It's not great.
But you don't feel bad.
But it's not bad.
Right. Untapped Shockland here for Nassif. Not great news for Luis, as he looks at the board and says, how in the world am I going to get out of this?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's funny. So, coming into this tournament, again, I just keep thinking about, okay, so what are people going to play? We're prepping for the tournament, everything else. Had a pretty good feeling that Goblins is going to be a huge percentage of things, and people are either going to join it or try to beat it. There were Uro decks. There were some talk about Azorius Control, because Teferi is a very powerful Planeswalker at 5 mana. And these sacrifice strategies obviously existed with Bolas' Citadel and Collected Company and everything else, but Mayhem Devil has been, if we take a look at this, starting on Monday and everything else, kind of recapping this tournament, it's been the star of the show, Marshall. It's unbelievable.
It really is. It is the card of the tournament. Muxus, take a back seat here because Mayhem Devil has been the card. And now we're going to see Scavenging Ooze start to get in that graveyard of Luis Scott-Vargas's. And it's just, look, this just doesn't line up, right? When one person has two devils, yeah, even though Luis gets a trigger, even when Nassif is doing the sacrificing, it's just overwhelming. It's way too hard to try to fight this fight.
Yeah,
interesting here, Nassif's going to attack with everything.
Yeah. So, I'll say this. Even though LSV is in a lot of trouble because Nassif was able to run a runner off those two kind of perfect cards, if LSV is able to draw, I would have to say Witch's Oven to be able to act of treason or claim the firstborn something plus sacrifice it. It gives him a window back into this game. I'm not saying that's going to be a game-winning play, but I'm saying that might be a step in the right direction. Also, if he's able to company into maybe something that resembles perfects, he might be able to get back into it. So I feel like it's got to be this turn that Luis draws whatever he's looking for.
So a Woe Strider or a Witch's Oven, something like that. And what does he find? It's a Dreadhorde Butcher?
Doesn't do a ton.
Probably not it, yeah. It's tough because you can see he has Claim the Firstborn and Act of Treason in hand. Even with a Woe Strider, he could play it, claim the devil, get that thing off the battlefield, and start to try to think about, where am I going to go from here? Maybe I can rip a Collected Company and get there like you described. Boy, the Dreadhorde Butcher, though, is very rough here, and all he can do is spend the 3 mana to put Jegantha back, or to put Jegantha in hand, which, by the way, Nassif did as well on the last turn, so we could see Jegantha here potentially.
It'll be a bit of a companion party here.
Dreadhorde Butcher is going to stay back as a potential blocker, kind of force the issue here. It's really tough, though. 2 1/1s just means that the way is going to be clear, most likely, for the attacks, and it's just hard to imagine Luis surviving at this point. As you said, he really had that one-turn window, and it feels like that window's closed on Luis here.
Yeah, and with Luis at 8 life, if I'm Gab, I'm just trying to figure out, is there a way for me to close it out this game? And Luis is going to answer that question for him and say, yeah, you got it, my friend.
That's right. Good game from Luis Scott-Vargas means that Gabriel Nassif is going to pick up match number 1 here in our quarterfinal. He's going to advance on. Luis still very much in the tournament, but is going to have that long road to go through the lower bracket if he's going to find himself in the finals. And you can see the disappointment there on Luis's face. Still a smile for us, but and he offers the handshake as well. But super, super tough there for Luis, as it just didn't quite come together, and he really needed to not see